Why would you want to build an Ice Sorcerer? Ice Sorcerers deal extremely high cantrip damage, firing up to 9 Ray of Frost a turn. They have incredible AoE damage and provide a lot of control for your team. They can make enemies lose their turn due to frozen or just straight up slipping. However, Ice Sorcerer does not come online until roughly level 6 with some moderate gearing, which makes it a mid to late game build. Do keep that in mind. Anyways, on to the build. I personally find Origin doesn't matter too much, so I picked Shadowhunt. And speaking of Shadowhunt, does anyone else want to raid her 10? Hey, her 10 isn't the only thing I'm raiding. There's this chill game called Raid Shadow Legends, where there is over 800 incredible champions ranging from elves, orcs, dwarves, demons, but for me personally, we all know the game receives constant monthly updates with the latest featuring the legendary Sun Wukong, who has some pretty awesome abilities such as stealing and blocking buffs from his enemies before attacking them. His staff attacks ignore 50% of the target's defense and can polymorph his enemies. Last but not least, he has a powerful passive which will revive him if he gets downed. You can currently get this character for free if you get the game using the download link in the description and by using the promo code Monkey King. Be sure to grab him before the end of October, as he is a limited character. Raid is also running one of its biggest events to date, named the Asgard Divide. This event runs from August 21st to November 22nd and features 4 Norse mythological characters. Players can collect these champions during the event and also enter a time-limited dungeon where they can face off against epic bosses. If following a clan is more your thing, feel free to join mine under Shadowfeet with yours truly as the venerable leader, Shadowfeet69. Anyways, don't miss out. Click my link in the description or scan my QR code to get your first legendary champion, Loki the Deceiver, for free by simply logging in for 7 days between now and October 23rd. Players can log in for additional 7 days to earn more rewards and access the second phase of rewards once 14 days of login bonuses have been earned. Thanks Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to becoming an Ice Sorcerer. For cantrips, Ray of Frost is our bread and butter, dealing a lot of damage once we reach level 6 and get our gear and vulnerability set up. It also decreases the target's move speed by 3 meters. Do not sleep on this cantrip. Other cantrips I like to pick are Fencer Advantage on charisma checks, Minor Illusion for the shove setup, and Mage Hand for throwing water bottles. The spells I recommend is Shield to increase survivability in combat and Magic Missile to help out early game. Subclass, we're going to pick White Draconic Ancestry, giving us Armor of Agathis, which gives us 5 temp HP and deals 5 cold damage to any creature that hits us with a melee attack. Upcast this spell to provide 5 additional temp HP and deal an additional 5 damage per spell level. For stat allocation, we are going to go with 14 Dexterity to help with our initiative, 16 Con to help with our concentration saving throws, and our main stat is Charisma, sitting at 17. Oh, you're saying, Evelyn, your Charisma is an odd number? I know, sweetie. There is a certain reason for that. I'll explain why later. The last 2 points you can put anywhere, but I chose Wisdom. Leveling our Sorcerer is quite easy as there is no multi-classing, since the only spells truly important to the core of our build are cold spells. Everything else is very subjective and depends on our playstyle, preference, and party composition. For level 2, the spell choice here isn't that big of a deal, so I picked Enhanced Sleep to help me get around quicker. What is a big deal, however, are our meta magic. Picking Twin Spell, our main meta magic of choice for the build. It only costs 1 sorcery point, and we can target 2 creatures with any single target spell. It is very cost efficient with our Ray of Frost cantrip. Our second meta magic of choice is Extended Spell, doubling the duration of conditions, summons, and surfaces caused by spells. In reality, I just use this to make my Sorcerer a greater invis bot to support my main damage dealer. Level 3, I picked Hold Person. This spell is incredible and will help you delete enemies. A held target cannot move, act, or react. One thing to take note of is any attack within 3 meters crits. Do not sleep on the spell as it is incredible.
You should search that corpse.
Our meta magic of choice here is Quicken Spell. A Sorcerer staple, we can use our bonus action to cast any spells or scrolls, further improving our action economy. Level 4, the cantrip really doesn't matter. I picked Shocking Grasp for a certain puzzle in Act 3, and definitely not for Shock Play at long rest. For the spell, I went with Misty Step to help with positioning. It's great because it only costs a bonus action. For feat, I went ASI, increasing my charisma to 19. At this point of the playthrough, we should be close to obtaining the Hag Hair, making our total 20. More on that in the gear section. Level 5, I recommend Haste, giving an additional action, more movement, and +2 to AC. This lasts 10 turns. I highly recommend twin casting the spell on you and another party member. Although, a big warning, if you lose concentration, you and your ally will become lethargic, essentially losing your turn. Very disastrous in honor mode, speaking from experience. Oh my god. Level 6 is a major capstone for us. As Draconic Sorcerer, we gain Elemental Affinity. When we cast a spell that deals cold damage, we also add our Charisma modifier to that damage. At this point of the game, we should have 20 Charisma and a certain necklace, meaning an additional +10 damage to our cold spells. With a twinned Ray of Frost, there's an additional 20 damage per round. It starts out up really quick. Don't forget we also have access to Quicken Spell and Bloodlust Elixirs. Spell-wise, Counterspell is great for denying enemy casters the chance to give your team grief. Level 7, I picked Ice Storm, a formidable spell that deals both bludgeoning and cold damage. It has an awesome AoE radius, and the ice surface it creates is very useful for making enemies slip or waste their movement. Level 8, my choice here was Greater Invisibility. It is my favorite support spell for a dex-based damage dealer, with extended giving it 20 turns. This spell's greatest strength is the way it interacts with stealth. An invisible character can attack with advantage and without starting combat until they are spotted. So high stealth characters can cause utter carnage as long as they can pass the increasingly difficult stealth checks. For feat, I went Dual Wielder, letting me use 2 staffs at once. The reason I want to dual wield staffs is for the bonuses provided by each one. It also gives us +1 armor class. Level 9, the spell choice I went with is Cone of Cold. This is pretty much an ice shotgun. Yes, it has 9 meters range, but the damage more than makes up for that. Even if the target saves, they take half damage. Level 10, the cantrip choice seriously doesn't matter. I picked Light as a throwaway. What does matter is the spell, which will take Hold Monster. If we land this, we can pretty much trivialize a big bad by disabling them and enjoying guaranteed criticals. To help ensure it lands, our meta magic of choice is Heightened Spell, giving our target disadvantage on the saving throw. With this meta magic and a high spell save DC given by our gear at this point, this is very deadly. Level 11 gives our Draconic Sorcerer the ability to fly, which means supreme mobility in the environment, both in and out of combat. Use this to your advantage. There are many big ticket spells here, but the choice I ended up going with was Globe of Invulnerability. This safety bubble gives my team protection from certain deadly encounters. Level 12, I ended up choosing Telekinesis to literally throw Steel Watchers into the water. But this is subjective, use what works for you. For feat, I went Elemental Adept. Our spells and attacks ignore resistance to a damage type of our choice, obviously picking cold resistance. And when we deal damage with our cold spells, we cannot roll a 1. I highly suggest buying some water bottles. Yep, you heard that right. Water bottles can be thrown by an ally or mage hand to make your enemies wet. Wet enemies are vulnerable to cold damage unless they are already resistant. If they are resistant and you throw a water bottle on them, it negates their resistance. Water bottles can be purchased from Auntie Ethel and found randomly around the world. The Bow of Awareness can be bought from Roa Moonglow at the Shattered Sanctum. It gives a +1 to initiative rolls, which honestly helps early game. I'll include Melf's first staff here because it's purchased from Blake at the Marketed Colony, even though we won't use it until mid-Act 2 when we get the dual wielder feat. This staff gives you a +1 to spell save DC and spell attack rolls. To obtain the Boots of Stormy Clamour, you need the Timber Spores and the Tongue of Madness mushrooms found at the Arcane Tower. Once you have these items, return to Blurk at the Marketed Colony, who can summon Emilium to take them off your hands. After handing in the mushrooms and drinking the potion, he will sell you the Banes, the Boots or Stormy Clamour. Whenever we inflict a condition, we also inflict 2 turns of reverberation. What does reverberation do? Well, the affected entity has a -1 to strength, dex, and con saving throws. This is per remaining turn. And when the entity has 5 or more turns of reverberation, they take 1d4 thunder damage and must succeed a DC 10 con saving throw or fall prone. And how do you inflict a condition? The easiest way is through ability drain, a passive illicit power that reduces the target's ability by 1 when we hit an attack. However, as an ice sorcerer, you have many other ways to inflict conditions, for example through chilled, encrusted with ice, and frozen. More on that later. The spell sparkler is very easy to obtain and will be used until we get the morning frost. You only need to save Councillor Florink from Wukane's Rest. Whenever we deal damage with a spell or cantrip, we gain 2 lightning charges. With each lightning charge, we gain a +1 to attack rolls and deal an additional 1 lightning damage. At 5 lightning charges, the next time we deal damage, we deal an additional 1d8 lightning damage. To get the morning frost, you need all 3 pieces of the staff. The icy crystal is carried by Philro near the Sorcerer tree. He does have 4 chorus to help, so be careful in this encounter. The icy halve is held by Dawn. You do have to take care of a spectator first. And the last icy metal piece can be found in the Myconid colony. To get access, you can offer to take care of the Duago on the beach for Spore, but if you're a little naughty, you can Misty Step to skip that. So have to combine the 3 paths to get it. It's a Morning Frost. When I deal cold damage, the wielder deals an additional 1 cold damage. Cold damage with a spell, it possibly inflicts chilled upon the target. Chilled is a condition where the affected entity is vulnerable to cold damage and resistant to fire damage. The Protecty Spark Swole is found on a ledge in the Grim Forge. Skip all the traps and shortcut here with Misty Step or Enhanced Leap. This piece of clothing gives a +1 bonus to spell save DC and +1 AC and saving throws as long as we have lightning charges. This works well with the spell sparkler. For the hag hair, we must get Auntie Ethel down below 30 HP so we can get her to give us her hair for a permanent +1 to charisma, rounding our score to 20 charisma at this stage of the game. Winter's Clutches can be purchased from Esfa in the Mountain Pass. Winter's Clutches, when the wearer deals cold damage, inflict 2 turns of Encrusted with Frost upon the targets. Encrusted with Frost, when there are 7 or more turns remaining, the entity must succeed a saving throw or take 1 to 4 cold damage and become frozen. This is a game changer for our build. The necklace can be found inside the Githyanki Creche. The necklace of elemental augmentation. When one of your cantrips deal cold damage, we add our spellcasting modifier to the damage dealt. Currently, we have a +4 from elemental affinity and a +4 from this necklace on top of our cold spells. The first lot of equipment for our Icy Sorcerer can be found at Moonrise Towers. One of the best rings in the game can be purchased from Araj. The risky ring gives advantage on attack rolls, increasing our hit rate consistency and damage output. This ring always deserves a permanent spot on my top damage dealer in the party. It does come with a downside. You gain disadvantage on saving throws, which lives up to the ring's name. However, you can mitigate the downside with a very sneaky trick. The Shadeclinger armor purchased from Tally gives advantage on saving throws when you are obscured. Let's crouch and be obscured here to get the Clean Shadows buff. Now if we change armor, we retain this buff until the next long rest, even if we walk around in broad daylight. Returning to Moonrise, we opened a door to Balthazar's room, went inside and interacted with the top right bookshelf. Next we grab a heart off the table, inserting it into this pedestal, unlocking a secret room. In the room was the chest. The Shadow Heart opened very carefully because it contained the Cold Brim Hat. Cold Rim chill once per turn. Any condition inflicted on a target also applies to 2 turns of Encrusted with Frost. Encrusted with Frost is a condition where the entity has disadvantage on dex saving throws. When there are 7 or more turns remaining, the entity must succeed a con saving throw or take 1 to 4 cold damage and become frozen. Even if they save, they still take half damage. Purchased from the Bugbear, the Sentinel Shield solves our lack of initiative by giving us +3 to our initiative rolls. The +2 AC can't hurt. You can also purchase potions of Angelic Reprieve from the same Bugbear. We use these to refresh level 1 and level 2 spell slots. You can use them in conjunction with the infinite spell slots and sorcery points glitch if you desire. The Potent Robe is a big ticket item for our build, hidden behind a very large quest line. I have a quick video guide on how to get it under an hour here, but here is the gist of it. Save the grove by getting rid of the goblin leaders, get rid of the guards at Moonrise, free the prisoners, and take the boat to Last Light Inn. When you reunite Alfira and Lacrissa, you'll be rewarded with the potent robe. Our cantrips deal additional damage equal to our charisma modifier. At the start of each turn, we also gain temporary HP equal to this modifier. Also +1 AC do be nice. In the northwest corner of Last Light Inn, if you pass the perception tank, you'll find a loose plank next to the bed. In this hidden plank is the snowburst ring. When the wearer does cold damage, they also create a 4.5 meter circle of ice around the target. The shielded devotion is included here if you want to manipulate sorcery points and spell slots. Don't forget to pick up the shape clinger armor from this vendor. The Hellrider longbow is purchased from Ferg, the Sharon trader in Rivington. Do note, if you have Shadowhunt in your party, leave her a good distance away when you talk to him. I usually leave her by the Rivington waypoint. He will not trade with her around. The Hellrider longbow, which we'll use to give us a passive +3 to initiative, which is greatly needed because we don't have the alert feat. The Spellmark gloves are locked behind a very long and annoying quest line. However, Lucretius was kind enough to leave her gloves unattended. The Spellmark gloves deal an additional 1d8 damage at the cost of -5 to our attack rolls. With Twinned, Quickened, and all our charisma modifier gear, 1d8 starts adding up real quick, and the -5 is offset, or they can be pickpocketed. Our Forever Cloak can be found at the Devil's Fee. Halsik will offer you a bigger selection. That's if you notice that she is a Diabolist. The item we're interested in here is a Cloak of the Weave. You gain a +1 bonus to spell save DC and attack rolls, boosting the effectiveness of our cold spells, but most importantly, the effectiveness of hold person and hold monster. Our endgame headpiece can be purchased from Sorcerer's Sundries. The Birthright, adding 2 points to charisma for a maximum of 22, adding another +1 to our attack rolls and damage, which will be triple dipped soon. How do you ask? While still at Sorcerer's Sundries, we took a portal to the tower. Using same visibility and pressing the Northern Weave button, we find a staff protected by an arcane barrier. The lever is normally invisible, but with same visibility, we can attempt a DC 20 Arcana check. To help with this roll, we use the Headband of Intellect, which sets intelligence to 17, and enhance ability, giving her advantage. Failing this roll will result in receiving a disintegrate to the face, so Shadowkey used inspiration, eventually getting it on her third roll. Unlocking the best staff for our build, Marco Heshkian. Arcane Enchantment adds a +1 to spell save DC and spell attack rolls. Arcane Battering allows us to cast a spell without using a spell slot once per long rest, and Kureshka's Favor is a staff ability that allows us to cast Frost of Dark Winter, granting resistance to cold damage and also allowing our cold spells to deal additional damage equal to our proficiency bonus. With the Amulet, Draconic Ancestry, and this staff, we can triple dip our charisma modifier. At 22 charisma, that is 18 damage. Also, with Marco Heshkan, whenever we deal spell damage, we inflict 2 turns of Encrusted with Frost upon the target. And finally, it gives us a free cast of Cone of Cold and Ice Storm once per short rest, a really awesome staff. Wet plus chilled equals frozen. The order to freeze enemies is to chill them, then wet them to make them frozen. Frozen enemies skip their turn and gain vulnerability to bludgeoning, thunder, and force damage. And we have bludgeoning damage in the form of Ice Storm. Quickened spell. For the cost of free sorcery points and a bonus action, we can cast another spell or cantrip. This is great for getting a lot of value out of your turn. I personally use this to do more damage or proc Bloodlust if I didn't get a kill with my action. Twin spell. There are many applications for Twinned. Some that I personally use are Twin Casting Haste for battles and the Drakethroat Glaive buff for my characters. Extended. Honestly, if I'm running a party, the extended spell is used exclusively on Greater Invis for my Stealth Archer, giving her 20 turns instead of 10 to wreak havoc on my enemies. Heightened. Not much to say here, apart from it's a match made in heaven for hold person and hold monster, setting up for a near instant delete button on our foes. Our drink of choice is Bloodlust. Once per turn, when we get a killing blow, we get another action point. Pair this with our insane damage output. Our action economy is through the roof. Scroll spam. Our meta magics also work with scrolls, which at the cost of gold is very efficient for our spell slots. Sorcerers are hungry and dependent on long rest, but if you're interested in finding out how to create infinite sorcery points or spell slots by literally stripping Shadowheart's underwear, yes, I'm being serious, you can watch the video here. Download Raid Shadow Legends using the link in the description or pinned comment. See you, sweeties!